Her is Anette Horman. Annette is doing Project 8 in the Competent Communication Manual, Get Comfortable with Visual Aids. Her objectives are to select appropriate visual aids and to use them with ease and confidence. Her time is 5 to 7 minutes, and her title is Marital Bliss and Beer Brewing. Please welcome Annette.
Before I start, I have a couple of handouts. I don't think I got to anybody in the back, so I'm just gonna, she'll just, did you put in your breath? I should have. So there's two handouts, so just pass them on. Thank you. My husband and I rarely approach life from the same direction, and there's a lot of things that we don't necessarily agree on. In fact, if you consult or believe in astrology, we're two of the signs that should never be together. And of course, when we were young and got married, we didn't think much about whether astrology agreed with us or not. And little by little did we find out that there were certain things we just shouldn't do together. Like, my husband had this wonderful idea, and he found this awesome tandem bike. It was an antique, and it worked perfect. And so we got on this tandem bike, and we started to fight. And it didn't matter if I was in the front or he was in the front. It just was not a good idea. Very similar things happened when we tried kayaking in the same kayak, paddling in a canoe. We couldn't make them go straight. And we're both pretty good with water sports and paddling, but the two of us together, not good. Then one of the things that we figured out that we both really enjoy is good beer and making good beer. And this was something we started doing, and we found this teacher who's kind of a curmudgeon-y, old but really nice man, and he showed us how to brew beer and how to do it in such a way that it turned out really well. Our first manual for brewing beer was called The Joy of Home Brewing, and it tells you to have a home brew anytime you do anything when it comes to the beer. So if you look at your handout, there is one that has a list of basic steps for brewing. And if you look at it, you can see that there's quite a few steps. I think there's at least 15. So during about a couple of 2 to 3 hours, if you have 15 home brews, you're going to have a pretty good time. And hopefully the beer will turn out as well. So I think it takes probably almost as much beer to brew the beer as you get from brewing the beer. And on the other handout, there is just a copy of one of our favorite beers that we make, and it's from one of the local brewing supply companies. And here are some books that we have used, and I just thought I would pass them around. They have a lot of different ideas of different ways of making beer, and that's one of the things I like about it and my husband, is that you get to play with a lot of different ingredients, you get to have a lot of fun, and you use things like green to change the color. You have like a dark green, and you can open it and smell it if you like. And then there's a lighter green, and it obviously gives a totally different flavor and smells very different as well. And then one of my husband's and my favorites are the hops, and they smell really fun as well. And they make the beer bitter and give it a lot of different flavor. Another great thing about making beer is that if it doesn't turn out like you like, if you store it for long enough, somebody usually likes it. In fact, a couple of years after we started brewing beer, we made this German Hefeweizen, and then we tried it, and it was horrible. We could not drink it. So we put it in the cellar because we couldn't quite bring ourselves to throw it away. You know, 5 gallons of beer is a lot, even if it's bad beer. So we threw it in the cellar and forgot all about it until a few years later in 2002, when our neighbors were hosting the German bobsled team. The German bobsled team had run out of beer, so our neighbor called us and said, "Hey, do you happen to have some beer?" And I said, "I don't think we have any." And my husband goes, "Yeah, we do. Remember, we have the German Hef." And I'm going, "You're going to make Germans drink our horrible German Hefeweizen?" He said, "Yeah, why not?" So he brought it over. Well, they finished it off in 2 hours and told us the next day that it was the best brew they'd ever had. So since then, we must have learned a few things. For our 20th anniversary, we even, on purpose, rented a tandem kayak and paddled 15 miles along the Hawaii coast, and not only did we not fight, but we had a great time. So I can highly recommend beer brewing as a means to marital bliss.
Thank you.